To give you an example of the kind of noise you can get out of this thing with the MFJ, which a noise blanker would never get. Let's turn this up. This is without the MFJ noise canceller. This is with it. And that is not noise reduction. That's not like DSP, which is, making it all gargly and watery sound. That is actually removing just noise. It doesn't even have to be. This doesn't even have to be noise that's from a bad transformer. It can just be noise. As long as the noise matches between both antennas, you can phase it out. You can phase out what you don't want to hear. And that you're only going to get with a device that can phase. It's like noise canceling headphones. You're not going to get that in any radio. Again, let's listen to that. This is with it. This is without it. So how am I going to run this test? I am going to use the Flex without the noise blanker, just using the MFJ. We're going to compare it to the 891. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set JST. I'm going to run the Flex for 5 minutes with my call sign on WSJTX, listening. And then I'm going to switch to the FT8 with my daughter's call sign, listening. And I'm going to do that off and on 5 minutes at a time. And I'm going to do that where the 5 minutes are at the same time. So in other words, I'll do 5 minutes for the Flex and 5 minutes for the Yaesu. And then I will do that for probably 23 minutes, and I'll come back in an hour or so and do the same thing again. Like I say, 5 and 5, 5 and 5. So like I say, 20 minutes, and then I'll probably come back a little later and do it again. And then we're going to look at the total and see how many stations were heard from one to the next, and we're going to look at signal comparisons between the two. This will be with just the radio, the MFJ noise canceller going right into the Flex, or the Yaesu, so that we don't need to worry about filtering or anything like that because it's a digital mode. It doesn't care. Let's go ahead and run that test. I'm not going to film it. We'll just have the numbers when it's all set. Just keep in mind, each radio will be equally listening to the same amount of times, and when I do 20-minute blocks, they will be all together, one radio to the next, 5 minutes for each, so the band's conditions are averaged out. It'll be a good average. And I'll do that for the rest of the day, probably 3 or 4 times, and then we'll come back and look at the numbers. All right, moving right along. I'm keeping them at as close as I can to 70 dB. Obviously, it'll go up and down based on what signals are coming through, but on average, it's around 70 dB. I'm keeping both receivers coming in at that volume. All right, so let's go ahead and see where we're at so far. Now, keep in mind, there's always a little lag. This one just started receiving again. It says I'm at 187 transceivers received in the last 2 hours. I've been tuning all of the same bands at the same time. And then if we go to the other one, now this one just finished receiving, so it might be a little higher. And we have 208 from its last round that it received. Like I say, I just now started the 5-minute round for this transceiver. So until this transceiver is run for its 5 minutes, that's when it will be ran exactly the same amount of time as the other. I'm going to then switch to 80, and then I will be done with this test. It'll be roughly close to a complete 2 hours that I've tested this, alternating 5 minutes at a time. And I've gone through every band where I could hear FT8. As you can see, we're pretty well neck and neck. This is the Flex. This is a $400 radio. And I'm using the exact same setting for both radios. Exact same settings, exact same filter setting. For the width, no noise blanker, nothing. My switch, there is some bleed through, so the FT891 is picking up a little, and when I'm on the FT891, the Flex also picks up a little, but I figure that's neither here nor there. It's a fair swap. They're both getting the same amount of spillover, so I figure if they count, they count. But this will just give you a general idea. So we're almost up on the 15-minute mark, and it'll be time to switch again back to the Yaesu. And actually, at that point, I'm going to take these offline, and I'll switch to 80 meters. So I'm on 80 meters now. All right, so we get it around 70. Now let's switch over to this one. Around 70. All right, we're ready to do the test for 80 meter. So now let's get to C. On a digital mode, I'm not sure that using a noise blanker is going to do you good. It's kind of going to take away data that the computer would be better to deal with just itself without using any of that. So I think this is a really good example of what the radio's quality of the receiver really is. And is there really a difference, really, when you're in an environment like here in the town and you've got all this QRM, is there really a difference between a $600 radio and a $5,000 radio, or is it just the features? I mean, obviously you've got better filtering for your ear if you're trying to listen to human voice or CW, but really the transceiver itself, other than those features which you can quantify. I mean, do you have a filter that you can adjust any width you want? Yes? Okay. All radios are equal. That dynamic range, it's not going to help you. Let's look at the numbers. So I've done this for roughly almost 2.5 hours. So I'm going to go back 3 hours on the report. Let me refresh these. We've got for the Flex, 221 transceivers were heard. Let me go ahead and refresh the Yaesu. And for the Yaesu, looks like 218 transceivers were heard. That's not what you'd qualify as any kind of difference. So let's look at the map. Here's the areas heard on the Flex. And here's the areas heard on the Yaesu 891. Now let's compare signal strength. Now keep in mind I tried to keep the volumes around 70 dB on both, but they aren't going to be perfect. So signal strength isn't going to tell us a whole lot, but let's try to compare. Okay, this guy here, VF, he did minus 15 dB. Over here, VF, he did minus 20. Let's go up here. ST, he did minus 21. Let's go over here. ST did minus 14. So far, the Yaesu is getting better. All right, so here we go. For example, this one we heard it 5 minutes after midnight, and we got minus 16 dB, and then we heard it over here 11 minutes after midnight on the Flex at minus 6 dB. So again, let's jump up here. Look at this guy. This is guy ET. I think he's on both maps. It was minus 16 dB over here, and it's minus 24 dB. So we'll go over here. Let's look at this guy. This is YU, minus 14 dB, and I think we have him over here. I don't have him. Well, you get the idea. It doesn't matter if you're in an urban environment. It doesn't matter if you buy an 891, 7300, a 991A, 7610, a Flex 6600M. The receive quality on all of them, you're not going to hear any different. You're really not. You might sound a little different as far as your speaker. So focus on features. Does the radio have features that you really, really like? And if they do, that's all that matters. Do you like the radio's features? No need to obsess about the Sherwood report because it doesn't matter. Something that I really needed to experience and test and try with different radios, and I think just focusing on nothing but digital modes, everything being set the same, the filter's at 3K, on both radios at 3K. My noise canceller is the only thing I used on both radios, both tuned exactly the same, and they both got the same results. Every single one of them got the same results. I hope you find this information useful when shopping for your radio. You literally could buy an 891 and hear just as good as a Flex 6300, minus the filters. The tracking notch filter is nice, but honestly, I think that the filters that come with the 891 or the Yaesus have the contour filter, your bandwidth filter, your notch filter. If you use something like the noise canceling device, that's going to take care of pretty much anything you need for a noise blanker and do a better job. Don't obsess about it too much. I would strongly recommend the noise canceller. And like I say, for voice, the Flex does have a few things. It does have a good noise blanker, and you can add that on top of the canceller. So if the canceller doesn't happen to get it all just right, then you can use the noise blanker, because you can only cancel out one sound at a time with the canceller. You can't cancel out multiple forms of interference. You can cancel out a broad spectrum, but like if you have two sources, you can't get both, more than likely. So having the noise blanker, a good noise blanker on the Flex plus the noise canceller, gives you more ability. Gosh, this was an exhausting review, and I don't know how good it's going to come out, but we will see. All over the map, a lot of spectrum of emotions and frustrations, and in the end, I do think that the Flex and how they handled it, honestly, that's what sold me. They do take care of their customers, and that can't be denied. They have a great forum, a lot of people that use the Flex, that can answer questions right away, that aren't even employees of FlexRadio. There's a lot going for the Flex. So again, I hope you found this helpful. I would have liked to have a video like this when I was shopping. But do remember, the Flex does have a 30-day. So if you get it and you don't like it, you can send it back.